ANC Secretary-General Mbalula has shocked the country by finally shattering the party's long silence and spilling the untold tale of why minister-guided Mantashe was arrested and jailed overseas in a breathtaking revelation. It was so raw, so painful and so damning that even seasoned political commentators were left ago. The nation has been subjected to the enigma of Mantashe, the veteran Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, who was dramatically arrested at an international summit and quickly incarcerated on allegations of global corruption, ecocide, and breaches of human rights law. Up to now, the ANC leadership had remained behind a silence wall, declining to comment, issue details or accept responsibility. That wall crashed today, and along with it the reputation and legacy of one of the most influential personalities in post-apartheid politics in South Africa. Standing before a packed media briefing at Johannesburg amidst visibly strained ANC officials, journalists, international diplomats and shocked party members, Mbalula stood before the microphones looking somber. After a lengthy silence, he caught his breath and uttered a sentence which announced the shuddering of South African politics. "The truth is no longer a secret," he said, waiting for maximum effect. What sent Comrade Gu to prison was not a misunderstanding. It was not political targeting. It was decisions, consciously, risky decisions taken behind closed doors, for money, and at the expense of innocent lives. Gas filled the air. Cameras clicked into a frenzy. The nearly hour-long impassioned revelation that stripped away the layers of a political scandal now being referred to as one of the biggest in South African democratic history followed. Mbalula claimed that Mantashe was the linchpin of a multi-billion rand shadowy agreement between foreign energy and mining multinationals. These clandestine transactions, which were done behind the book and out of the reach of public scrutiny, provided overseas companies with backdoor entry in to exploit valuable natural resources in large swathes of southern and central Africa. The activities were said to skirt environmental laws, avoid tax, and most egregiously displace entire communities in favor of areas for extraction. In the most serious charge of all, Mbalula alleged that some of these foreign companies channel cash to local armed groups to secure mining concessions, making vulnerable areas of conflict and mayhem. Mbalula disclosed personally received an estimated 150 million via shell companies and a labyrinthine system of offshore accounts in Mauritius, the British Virgin Islands and Switzerland. He exchanged for this by signing secretive agreements allowing foreign firms access to lucrative mineral deposits in nations such as Zambia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique, and even portions of East Africa where border tensions were already fueling tension. These agreements weren't merely unethical, Mbalula declared. They were devastating. Whole villages were flattened, rivers were poisoned, and people, our people, were vanished. Overcome with emotion, Mbalula painted the picture. Whole families were displaced. Grandmothers cried as bulldozers knocked their houses down. Children were made to endure toxic waste in rivers that used to nourish their communities. "This was not corruption," he said, his voice shaking. "This was a human rights crime and the world had no option but to take action." International investigators cooperating with African whistleblowers and green watchdogs had constructed a case in secret over 14 months. Mbalula said Mantashe was being watched around the clock by Interpol and the European Anti-Corruption Task Force. His arrest was at the height of a high-profile mining conference in Germany, where authorities closed in quickly and termed the evidence as irrefutable and overwhelming. Officials have charged Mantashe with grand corruption, environmental degradation, and crimes against humanity, a set of 3 charges that shocked watchers around the world. The scandal doesn't end with Mantashe. Indeed, says Mbalula, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Pressure is increasing on President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is being asked if he knew about the deals or if he did nothing in response to intelligence reports said to have alerted the presidency several months ahead of the arrest. Reports indicate that Mantashe used Ramaphosa's name in the negotiations to provide legitimacy to the illegal contracts. If the allegations are true, this will kill the credibility of the president at home and abroad. The president, according to sources, is angry and upset, racing to contain political and diplomatic fallout. Rumors within ANC corridors indicate that several high-ranking officials will likely be put under investigation soon. Whistleblowers have identified other cabinet ministers and high-level advisors as recipients of the illegal network. Some of them have reportedly already been submitted to foreign law enforcement authorities. The panic among ANC officials is said to be mounting by the hour as crisis meetings are convened and covert internal probes are initiated behind closed doors. The most charged emotional moment of the press conference may have occurred when Mbalula spoke directly to the people of South Africa, stopping over and over to regain his composure. To all children poisoned by toxic water, to all grandmothers dispossessed of ancestral ground, and to all citizens who still had faith in us, I am sorry, he said, his eyes welling with tears. I was instructed not to remain silent. But I can't guard this rot any longer. What you did shattered us, and the truth will cry you. The room fell silent. Mbalula also displayed printed satellite images of devastated landscapes, payment books that were traced back to international banks, and signed affidavits from frightened former staff of the offending companies. He proceeded to mention some of the involved multinational companies, stating that some had already been banned in other areas of Africa. This wasn't one individual's crime, he declared. This was a greed network that reached across continents and was facilitated by silence, power, and cowardice. The popular response was swift and angry. In a matter of hours after the announcement, thousands marched in the streets of Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban in impromptu demonstrations. Justice for Africa, Ramaphosa must go, and no more ANC lies rang in city squares. Civil society groups have made calls for a day of national mourning to commemorate the displaced, the poisoned, and the dead. Certain legal groups have already started preparing petitions to prevent implicated politicians from gaining access to state money for legal defense. Experts are referring to this as the ANC's worst political crisis since apartheid. With its Secretary General visibly turning against its inner circle and with its president on the ropes, the party is mired in a legitimacy crisis that will rewrite South Africa's future politics. The world has taken notice and denouncements of concern are heard from human rights organizations, the United Nations, and diplomatic allies.